So Judge Cano, soon to be former Judge Cano, got his charges were just unsealed. He's charged with obstruction. He admitted post Miranda. He took one of the TDA members' cell phones himself, took it, beat it with a hammer, destroyed it, and then walked the pieces to a city dumpster to dispose of it to protect him. The wife also is charged with destroying evidence. Sandra, not only that, this TDA member, and he had on a necklace that said kill, something about death. He had tattoos all over him. He also had on his cell phone pictures of two decapitated victims, decapitated, gruesome photos. And he was sending them out, and whoever he was sending them to was sending back saying, hey, you need to be careful. You shouldn't be sending these. You shouldn't be texting these photos out. Not only that, these two, the judge and his wife, gave him assault rifles that belonged to their daughter. That's what they're charged with. In the criminal report affidavit, he goes to a shooting range with these assault rifles, with a suppressor, with other known TDA members, and they're shooting. This is the last person that we want in our country, nor will we ever tolerate a judge or anyone else harboring them.
Now you have judges literally harboring illegals and trying to let them escape. So the next time you hear some of these folks on the left lecture about Donald Trump and the rule of law and all this other stuff, remind them that this is how judges are acting. Judges. All right, guys, I hope you had a great weekend. Tomorrow is the 100-day mark. Part of me thinks this is like, we're probably at like 200 or 300 in normal administration. Man, a Biden administration, this would be like year 4. But it really is an opportunity to stop and reflect. And I know that there's these artificial moments where you stop and say, oh, it's 100 days, let's stop. But it's actually worth it to me, because as you're going to see in a minute, we have a lot to reflect on. And I think the pace of President Trump, sometimes you forget everything that's happened, and we're going to talk about all that. But this was a big weekend. Here's what I want to talk to you about before I get into the 100-day stuff. There's a lot that happened over the weekend. Pope's funeral, Trump met with Zelenskyy, the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and the alternative stuff all went down. And then a bunch of judges went wild. So a lot to get to. And then, like I said, what I really want to focus today on is a preview of this 100-day mark, because the media is going to make a big deal of it. And I think there's going to be a lot on social media. And part of what I want to do today is not just to reflect on it because I think it's worthy of doing that, but I also want to make sure that all of us are armed with the facts, because the media is going to come out and talk about like polling numbers and chaos and all this, and they're not going to give us the full context of everything that's happened in the last 100 days, because they don't want President Trump to get credit. They don't want to actually highlight the good. And the promises made, promises kept. It was actually a big theme in the 1994 Contract with America takeover of Congress. This idea of promising stuff and then delivering on it. It's completely foreign in politics. Crazy, isn't it? Politician promises you something and then they explain to you why they can't get it done. But not with President Trump. And as I said, you're going to see just so many of the things that have happened that we probably forgot about, and in getting ready for this and getting a little bit of help from the White House, we were able to reflect on this. So I want to do this, but as I said, first and foremost, President flew to Rome over the weekend, attended the Pope's funeral. I mean, take a look at all these people scrambling to meet President Trump. It was just like Jimmy Carter's funeral in the sense that you actually see a lot of business getting done and people hanging out. And it was interesting because you saw a lot of these world leaders trying to get their 2 seconds or so with Trump. And it was funny because Biden came there, and I got to be honest with you, and I don't mean this in a pejorative or mean way. I'm being completely but when you saw how frail he looked, and at one point he's getting assisted by one of the cardinals. I know that we sometimes, and we'll mention this in a minute about the decline, but there's no one in their right minds that thinks he could have honestly tried to govern for another 4 years. And just watching him at the Pope's funeral and realizing, think about it, you're not really doing anything right now, right? The job of president is demanding, it's taxing, and he's fading quick. And again, I'm not trying to be mean. or disparaging. It's just when you watch him, he looks frail. And so that's it. On the flip side, you saw President Trump out there meeting with Zelenskyy. And I got to be honest with you, it both in tone and tenor, it looked promising. And I've said this before, I don't think there's anyone else in the world right now that can get peace except for President Trump. And I know he wants to get this done. You saw that image of them sitting there in St. Peter's with two chairs, like it was like a parent-teacher conference. You know what I mean? But there's no aides. There's no translators. This is Trump one-on-one getting the job done. And again, I don't mean to harp on this, but I just can't, like, if this was Biden or even Obama, like there would have been 10 aides and a long table and translators. This is Trump sitting a mano a mano right there saying, let's talk, let's get it done. Zelenskyy says it was a great meeting. And I just, again, but by the way, it really probably was the first and last time you're ever going to see like a bilateral meeting of this nature happen in the Vatican. But for all the naysayers, I just want to make sure we're all clear on the fact, because Trump wants peace. I know this personally. He hates death and destruction. He hates the imagery of people getting killed. It really moves him in a serious, like he is moved by this. He truly wants peace and the end of death and destruction. But let's put what's happening in context, because the media won't. Everyone loves to talk about Crimea and, you know, what it's right and wrong. Let's remember when this happened. Russia took Crimea under Obama. Remember when they tried to have a reset and Hillary Clinton wanted to push the easy button that you get at Staples? And Obama met with Medvedev, then the president, when Putin had kind of taken this backseat as prime minister, which we all knew was kind of a joke. And he says, hey, remember, I'll have more flexibility after the election. I'll deliver that to Vladimir, was the message he got back. I mean, and now apparently it's Trump's fault. Like he's supposed to solve all this. It was Obama's watch that this happened on. Then 4 years of Trump, nothing happens. Not just in terms of Russian aggression, but anywhere. No wars, no nothing. Then Biden comes into office. What's the first thing you do? The failed Afghanistan withdrawal leads to Russia. And this isn't my words. This is Putin saying, yeah, that made me think these guys won't stop me. Trump is cleaning up their messes. It is funny for me, for all these people who want to nip at the heels of Donald Trump and talk about how he's going about this. He didn't do this. They did. He's cleaning it up for them. It's unbelievable. And by the way, before I leave the Zelenskyy and St. Peter's and Rome thing, since I'm on my high horse about the media, and it's going to get worse, just so you know, because I'm going to talk about the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Apparently the Vatican had said we'd like everyone to wear like black for the funeral, which again, I'm not a big fan of black, because I believe if you actually think about what's supposed to be happening, especially as a Catholic, the Pope is born into this new life. This is a time for celebration for the life that he lived and the opportunity to continue his life with Christ. I always think sometimes that we've approached these things wrong, but I won't digress. But they say, oh, they're supposed to be, please wear black. Well, Trump wears a blue suit, as he always does, frankly. And everybody takes this, look at the shot, look at the photo. Oh my God, Trump wore a blue suit. But if you pan out from that photo, you'll see that, like, maybe a fifth, sixth of all the people are also wearing blue suits. But they had to find a way to nip at Trump, didn't they? That's how petty these folks are. They literally cropped the photos. It's like that time that he was throwing, food into a koi pond, and they said, oh, he was just dumping it, whatever, until you realized that the prime minister of Japan had said, oh, please go do this. Shinzo Abe. But they'll do anything they can to manipulate a photo, to do whatever it takes to make him look bad. And that photo, again, I don't mean to get off on it, but I have to. And that actually plays right into where I wanted to get to, which is the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Now, I didn't go. I went on C-SPAN. I hope some of you saw it. I want to show you a little, because my goal was to make sure that people understood that when they hear these fluffy speeches about the First Amendment and freedom of the press, that these guys are full of crap. Let me play you some of what I said that night on Saturday night about the dinner.
Your perspective? What's the purpose?
Frankly, I actually agree with Frank almost on everything you said there, right? What it should be and what it's become are two different things. It was funny, as Frank was describing that, I couldn't help but think of my own experience in the briefing room, and I thought the briefing and the dinner are very synonymous. That what it should be and what it has become are two different things. The briefings become a spectacle. The dinners become a spectacle. And when I hear Eugen Daniels get up there and talk about the First Amendment, it makes me chuckle, because this is an organization that when 440 hard passes were stripped from independent journalists under the Biden White House, none of them said a single thing. That association did nothing. And when I look at what that dinner could be, I think Frank's absolutely right. It could be a really nice night for people to enjoy each other's company, come together for some camaraderie. I'm a fan of it. I mean, there's some people who say critically it's not a good look for the... I disagree with that. I think that it is good to know individuals. Everybody's got a job to do. I respect the job of what journalists do. But I think, like so many other things in this town, Frank's absolutely right. It's become a spectacle.
They want to pretend that everything's normal and that we're supposed to be props. And as I've said, and you guys have heard me say this, that Republicans who go to those dinners are just props in an attempt to give them credibility. And you are part of the problem. And, you know, it was very different. President Trump has never gone. So this is 5 times that he hasn't gone to the dinner. Technically 4, because one of them was canceled because of COVID, but he wouldn't have gone that way anyway. But this time, there were 2 distinctly different things that I think are worth pointing out. Number one, it wasn't just the president and some White House staff. There was rarely to be seen a Republican there. It was unbelievable. And there were alternative events. That was the other thing. David Sachs, the AI guy who's a co-founder of PayPal, had a big alternative event with a bunch of tech folks. And then there was an event that Steve Bannon and Raheem Kassam put on at a place on Capitol Hill. Marco Rubio went to that. I went to that. It was fantastic. And then there was a Substack party for independent journalists. And it was actually bipartisan, by the way, because Substack's just a platform for free speech. I liked the idea of being able to go out and celebrate stuff and enjoy each other's company without feeling like we were props or getting punched by these left-wing elitist so-called journalists. Anyway, it was funny though, because again, they just couldn't stop themselves. And Politico described the event at Bannon's, which I thought was fantastic. And by the way, there were some quote legacy reporters there. I won't call them out because I'm sure they don't want to be, but people actually came to enjoy each other's company and have fun. Natalie Winters, I got to see her, Jack Pasibic, a lot of great MAGA right-leaning folks, but also some folks that I think just enjoyed being in the company of people who are, frankly, leading so much of the discussion. But this is how Politico described it. On full display Saturday evening was one of the defining stories of President Donald Trump's return to Washington. MAGA's hostile takeover of this town, from administration officials hosting the highest profile parties to the movement's journalists getting a bevy of questions in the briefing room. Hostile takeover. No, actually, they're just getting their turn. You're just so jealous at Politico because you guys have done such a bad job that this isn't a hostile takeover. Actually, we've been welcome in, dummy. I've got a pass. I go. I'll be there tomorrow, by the way. Not to get ahead of it. But I'm going to be over at the White House starting to celebrate the 100 days, talking to some senior officials, and Tuesday's show, Wednesday's show are going to be fantastic because of it. There's nothing hostile about it, Politico. You guys are just jealous. That's what it is. Anyway, the New York Times, by the way, talk about really getting an understanding of what happened. They said in interviews, top journalists at multiple news outlets said that it had been nearly impossible to convince celebrities and lawmakers to attend as guests. One reporter said that the list of people who had rejected invitations to join the publication's table was in the dozens. In the dozens. Now, in the past, people would beg, please, can I come to the dinner? If you get an extra ticket, can I come? Could I get a +1 potentially? Begging, can I come to this dinner? Oh, I want to be seen and rub elbows with D-list celebrities. But now, quite the opposite. You couldn't give the tickets away. It was boring. It was lame. They jumped the shark. Even my buddy Dan Turrentine from the morning meeting watched me over on C-SPAN. Great image of him with his feet up on a Saturday night watching C-SPAN, which a lot of people were. I got a lot of great feedback from that. But then you saw the president of the White House Correspondents Association, Eugen Daniels. Remember, he was at Politico, did a horrible job there, and then is transitioning over to MSNBC to host a show there. But this is what he had to say. Take a listen.
We journalists are a lot of things. We are competitive and pushy. We are impatient, and sometimes we think we know everything. But we're also human. We miss our families and significant life moments in service to this job. We care deeply about accuracy and take seriously the heavy responsibility of being stewards of the public's trust. What we are not is the opposition. What we are not is the enemy of the people, and what we are not is the enemy of the state.
You are the opposition. That's a fact. I mean, why are you so defensive? Because you know that the trust in what you've done is gone. The reason that independent media has risen the way it has is because you didn't do your job. You lost trust. Hoax after hoax, story after story that you didn't cover, that you covered in a biased way, that you covered up. Don't pretend that you're high and mighty now because you've got a dinner with your buddies. But then he went on to talk about why the president's invited and all this kind of stuff. Take a listen. He just couldn't help himself.
As you all know, every year we invite the president to this dinner. For decades, presidents on both sides of the political spectrum get gussied up and join us. I want to be clear about something. We don't invite presidents of the United States to this because it's for them. We don't invite them because we want to cozy up to them or curry favor. We don't only extend invites to the presidents who say they love journalists or who say they are defenders of the First Amendment and a free press. We invite them to remind them that they should be. We invite them to demonstrate that those of us who have chosen the public service of journalism aren't doing it because we love flights on Air Force One or walking into the Oval Office. It's to remind them why a strong fourth estate is essential for democracy.
So, look, the bottom line is the same First Amendment that gives the freedom of the press also gives the freedom of assembly. You want to have your dinner with your liberal elitist friends? Go for it. God bless you. But it doesn't mean that we get to be props in your little exam. You chose to hire a comedian who openly said she hated the president of the United States and would mock him. And then acted somehow like, oh, how did that happen? It was Eugen Daniels who invited her. And then he kind of tried to gaslight everyone by being like, I don't know how she got here. We just dismissed her. He, of all people, to stand there and lecture us about this, he was auditioning to be Kamala Harris's press secretary. He is now becoming a host on MSNBC. The idea that he was masquerading and identified as a journalist is a joke. Stop trying to use the Constitution to cloak your bias in. I'm all for the freedom of the press. I'm all for a good journalist. But don't wrap yourself in it after the way that you've behaved the last several years. There was one reporter that did get an award for his aggressive reporting of Biden. It's called the Arlo Beckman Award. And I want to play for you because a guy named Alex Thompson from Axios got it. And I want you to hear what he said about the award that he got for the subject that he got.
President Biden's decline and its cover-up by the people around him is a reminder that every White House, regardless of party, is capable of deception. But being truth tellers also means telling the truth about ourselves. We, myself included, missed a lot of this story, and some people trust us less because of it. We bear some responsibility for faith in the media being at such lows. I say this because acknowledging errors builds trust, and being defensive about them further erodes it. We should have done better.
Should have ended the speech right there. Golf clap. You see how tepid that was from his colleagues? You notice the other thing, though? It always goes in one direction. Every time they screw up, it's against the right. They never go, you know, well, gosh, we screwed that story up on Kamala Harris or Joe Biden or Barack Obama. It's always what they do to the right. And then they say, yeah, we went too far. We didn't get this story. But as much as I would like to accept his apology there, the idea that they're saying that we missed it, like I miss a catch, like when someone throws me a ball, that's when you miss something, right? You're trying to catch a ball and it falls to the side. They didn't miss that. They saw it. That's the thing. Again, they're gaslighting us. They knew it was happening. It wasn't like we never saw the president and we didn't see it. We watched him stumble upstairs and downstairs and take the short stairs, fall on his face at events, stumble through public interviews and the most basic things. You didn't miss it. That's the thing. You ignored it. And there's a difference. And when you try to pretend you missed it like a fly ball, you're gaslighting the American people. You guys chose to ignore that story because you are biased towards that side of the aisle and you hate Republicans. That's a fact. And it always goes in that direction. All right. Enough about the media for right now. I do want to get to this whole issue of judges. And again, I want to talk a lot about this 100-day mark. It's huge. But judges, by the way, have just gone wild. And we always talk about following the law and the Constitution and Trump and constitutional crises. But we had two big events that have happened that I think are critical. And I think you think about what's happening overall, right? These judges telling people that the president has to bring back non-citizens, restore funding for DEI, which again, he's the executive, restore funding to sanctuary cities. He can't force proof of citizenship for a voter registration mandate. He can't dissolve agencies like the Voice of America and the State Department. I mean, like, he's the head of the executive branch and the judicial branch is telling him what to do. This is nuts. But there were two other issues that I thought were just insane. Kash Patel announced that the FBI had arrested this judge, Hannah Dugan, out of Milwaukee, for obstruction because this judge literally, and I'll just read you what Kash said. He said, "We believe Judge Dugan intentionally misdirected federal agents away from the subject to be arrested in a courthouse, Eduardo Flores Luis, allowing the subject, an illegal alien, to evade arrest." Now, just think about this for a second. The judge is taking this person who is broken our laws and saying, hey, I want to help you evade this. Pam Bondi explained it very well. Take a listen.
So rare for victims to want to cooperate. They wanted to cooperate. They were sitting in the courtroom with the state prosecutor. The judge learns that ICE was outside to get the guy because he had been deported in 2013, came back in our country, commits these crimes, charged with committing these crimes, victims in court. Judge finds out. She goes out in the hallway, screams at the immigration officers. She's furious, visibly shaken, upset, sends them off to talk to the chief judge. She comes back in the courtroom. You're not going to believe this. Takes the defendant and the defense attorney back in her chambers, takes them out a private exit and tells them to leave. While a state prosecutor and victims of domestic violence are sitting in the courtroom.
Wow. Can you believe that? I mean, literally, the judge is taking the accused, the person who has been illegally in our country now for the second time, and saying, hey, here's how to escape. That's the judge. What the heck is happening? Even my buddy Dan Turrentine, the Democrat on the morning meeting, agrees. He tweeted this out. Thought a lot about the Wisconsin judge's arrest. When you look at the facts, her behavior is inexcusable and indefensible. It's just because she is Judge 1, initially startled and shocked. D's don't take the bait. But it's not just her. There's another judge, this guy Cano, who the judge and his wife harbored a member of Trende Aragua. Okay, this is this violent gang. And again, let me have Pam Bondi explain what happened.
I mean, when you look at the associations with this violent Venezuelan gang, Tren de Aragua, and this person that they harbored in their home, he was showing signs through clothing, we were told, tattoos. There was evidence through voice messages and text messages of his association to TDA. So what charges will Cano and his wife face, if any?
So Judge Cano, soon to be former Judge Cano, got his charges were just unsealed. He's charged with obstruction. He admitted post Miranda. He took one of the TDA members' cell phones himself, took it, beat it with a hammer, destroyed it, and then walked the pieces to a city dumpster to dispose of it to protect him. The wife also is charged with destroying evidence. Sandra, not only that, this TDA member, and he had on a necklace that said kill, something about death. He had tattoos all over him. He also had on his cell phone pictures of two decapitated victims, decapitated, gruesome photos. And he was sending them out, and whoever he was sending them to was sending back saying, hey, you need to be careful. You shouldn't be sending these. You shouldn't be texting these photos out. Not only that, these two, the judge and his wife, gave him assault rifles that belonged to their daughter. That's what they're charged with. In the criminal report affidavit, he goes to a shooting range with these assault rifles, with a suppressor, with other known TDA members, and they're shooting. This is the last person that we want in our country, nor will we ever tolerate a judge or anyone else harboring them.
Okay, so when you start hearing about the rule of law and constitutional crises, think about this. Now, two judges, aside from all the stuff that I started with, all these judges at the district court level talking about how they won't let the president be the executive of the branch that he was duly elected by the American people. But now you have judges literally harboring illegals and trying to let them escape. So the next time you hear some of these folks on the left lecture about Donald Trump and the rule of law and all this other stuff, remind them that this is how judges are acting. Judges. It's unbelievable. But I want to tell you, because it's even worse, the Democrats, by the way, have started to really gaslight us, because I know that we haven't heard much as much about our good friend Abrego Garcia, who's now in El Salvador prison. But the chair of the Democratic National Committee, his name is Ken Martin. You probably don't know because he hasn't done anything significant so far and is kind of so far been unimpressive. But he has been very clear what he thinks of our good friend, Mr. Abrego Garcia. Take a look.
Well, I don't have a message to his wife. I mean, look, I just disagree with the idea that he hasn't been offered due process.
This is absolutely outrageous. Americans should be up in arms. This is unconstitutional. Kidnapping a legal resident and sending them to a foreign prison, this is beyond anything we've ever seen before. This is not a dictatorship. This is a democracy, and all Americans should expect more from Donald Trump and J.D. Vance in this moment.
Okay, I mean, look, I get this is like the hip cool thing, like he pretends to watch a clip and then they put it on Instagram and he's just so shocked at this. Like, give me a break. I get it. This is them trying to look cool and create like a viral video. Like, here, randomly looking at video of J.D. Vance, and I'm going to give you my non-rehearsed answer. But stop for a second and realize this. We've talked about this over and over again. This is not a good guy. He is in this country illegally, ordered by a court to be deported. His wife had filed a domestic violence report against him. I mean, I could go on and on. He's a member of MS-13, and yet this is how he describes him, the chair of the Democratic National Committee. Guys, at some point, I'm like, I can't, like, they deserve all this. It's just crazy. All right. Before we get into the forward-looking stuff, I do want to just say it was First Lady Melania Trump's birthday over the weekend. The White House had released a ton of photos. I had a great photo that I put up on Instagram of my time with her. I think the world of her. I tell people all the time, I would never have gotten the job that I did and held it for as long as I did if it wasn't for Mrs. Trump. She is a kind, gracious person, always good to me. She is very underestimated in how important she is in the decision-making of her husband. She has great political instincts, and I think he knows that, and that's it. I will say this. I mentioned it a minute ago, but I don't want to gloss over it. I'm going to be at the White House, and we're going to have some great interviews with cabinet officials and senior officials that we're going to bring to you because they're getting ready to roll through the 100 days. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. So I'm going to try to get as much as I can and bring that to you all week. And so just trust me when I say subscribe, hit the notification button, because all week long, we're getting unbelievable access to the White House and the senior team. All right. You guys know this. I was traveling last week and I flew to Florida and I brought all the normal stuff you bring on vacation, right? The bathing suit and, shorts and t-shirts and books that I could relax with, especially doing the show. But I actually brought my Wired to Fish coffee. I did. I'm not kidding. It was funny. Got down there. We were staying at my mom's and she always brews a big cup of coffee in the morning. And the last time they were all at the house, I'd been making it for them. So I brought my Wired to Fish coffee to Florida when I came. And I love it, as you guys know, because not only is it a great cup of coffee, it's got these Arabica beans that are phenomenal. And if you love, I love the medium roast, full disclosure. But if you love a great cup of coffee, you're going to love this. But the thing that I love better is not just the taste, because it's fantastic, is that I know the folks at Wired to Fish align with values that I'm just so proud of. They love great coffee, fishing, and Jesus. And I think it's probably Jesus, fishing, and coffee. I don't know. But anyway, and you go to their website, wired2fishcoffee.com, and you'll see what I'm talking about. It's amazing. And when they kick back 25% of their profits to faith-based and clean water initiatives, I know that when I buy this, and I buy it, by the way, that coffee, I bought it with my dollars. And I get a nice little shipment of this. I love it. I love when people come over and I get to brew it for them. Anyway, because I know that it's aligned with my values. It's not giving to like Starbucks and some woke coffee company that, who knows where all the places that they're spending that money. And so it's great coffee. And if you use discount We Care, one word, We Care, when you make your order off, you can get 10% off. And here's the cool thing. Right now, they're making both 2-pound and 5-pound bags. So if you're a big coffee drinker, it's like economical to get the 5-pound bag. So go to wired2fishcoffee.com. So you use wired, the numeral 2, fishcoffee.com. Use code WeCare for 10% off. Guys, as I said, I was down in Florida. I was running around doing all sorts of stuff. You guys know that. America, the country, we're built on hard work, determination, grit. But let's face it, as someone like me gets older, I need a shoe that I can use that recognizes where I am in life. Let's put it that way. And right now, on my feet, I have my Gravity Defyer shoes. Sitting right down on them. You've seen the videos of me playing pickleball, running. I've got 3 different pairs. These are the running ones, actually, although I did not run today, but I didn't do this. These have FTC approved relief pain technology. It's Verso technology. It's like having your foot step into a trampoline. It's that soft, cushiony, supportive. I love this stuff because it absorbs harmful shock. It aligns with your body. Like I have hip issues and knee issues and that's why I can't get enough of these things. It's a shoe that works as hard as you do. And once you try on a pair of Gravity Defyer shoes, trust me, you won't go back. That's why I've got 3 pairs, because I just keep adjusting everything that I want to do and going, oh, I need a new pair. And by the way, I've got wide feet. So if you are in the same boat as me, they actually make all this stuff in wide, which is fantastic. If you're a veteran, a senior, you work on your feet all day, trust me, you're going to love these things. And here's the best part. Watchers and listeners of the Sean Spicer Show can get an exclusive 50% off any order of $120 right now. I mean, that's the deal of the century right now, guys. 50% off. Just text Sean, S-E-A-N. You better know how to spell that. Text Sean to 91888. They'll send you a link to claim your deal. That's literally half off the shoes. And I'm not kidding you. In a time when we're talking about tariffs and everything, this is a deal worth taking. And trust me when I tell you that you'll love them. They're comfortable. They're absorb shock. I mean, they're so fan. Stand tall. Walk strong, feel your best with these things. So text Sean, S-E-A-N, to 91888 or visit GDEFY. So it's Gravity Defyer, but it's Gravity, GDEFY.com, and take your first step towards pain-free life. All right. I want to tell you a little bit about some of the Sunday shows, because then I'm going to spend the rest of the time really honing in on this 100-day mark, because we need to be prepared for this. But my old boss, Reince Priebus, was on the Sunday shows making the case for this 100-day mark and what the president has accomplished so far. Take a listen to what Reince had to say.
Inflation is down, rates are down, gas prices are down. I think what you're going to see, and I think what was revealing in Scott Bessent's interview, is the next 100 days, which is the rebuilding 100 days, which is cutting deals on the tariffs, which is calming people down as far as where we're going in the economy, the tax cuts that are probably likely coming to the economy. I think the one thing you can say about President Trump is that he's doing exactly with what he said he was going to do.
Boom. Right? Promises made, promises kept. No one out there saying, oh my God, I can't believe he's, focused on immigration or border security or tariffs. He said all that stuff. He's delivering on what he said. And Reince mentioned that Scott Bessent clip. Let's take a listen to what he had to say about where things are.
The president is looking forward to the jobs of the future, not the jobs of the past. The goal is to bring back high-performance manufacturing jobs or create high-performance manufacturing jobs. Right now,
How long does that take? I mean, that is such a concern. How long does it take to bring that to the U.S.?
Well,
is there a plan?
Of course, but it's a process. Right now, the U.S. has a barbell economy. We have a very advanced financial system. We have a the exploration and development that is the envy in the world. On the other side, we are a natural resource economy led by energy, which the previous administration tried to stifle. And in between is where working class Americans have lost out. And we want to bring back these manufacturing jobs or create these manufacturing jobs of the future. And we are meeting with companies that want to do this every day.
But you get that? How quick can you get, Martha Raddatz, how quick can you get it done? Can you do it tomorrow? Yeah, I'm sorry. We didn't just blow the manufacturing base in a day. It's going to take a little while to get back. I've said this before, guys. If this was easy, it would have been done. But the opposite is easy. Just continuing the policies, letting manufacturing go, letting countries rip us off. That's the easy part. And I'm going to play you something in a minute that's just going to show you how funny this is because the media has this wrong. They think that everybody hates this and it's nuts. And I don't think that's entirely true. Brooke Rollins, by the way, was talking about how this is affecting farmers. Take a listen to what she said, because again, same message about how we're trying to win for the American people, in this case, farmers and ranchers. Brooke.
We are opening up and expanding markets across the world. I'll be in the UK. I'll be in Vietnam. I will be in Japan. I will be in Brazil. I will be in Peru. This is all in just the coming months. That in the last administration, we went from a $0 trade deficit when President Trump left for agriculture to an almost $50 billion trade deficit after the Biden administration on agriculture. There just wasn't much effort around the world to open these markets up. J.D. Vance was just in India. We see them as a massive trading partner moving forward.
So
if we can come to the right resolution,
there will
in
be
the right
deals.
terms.
So you see there will be deals with other countries, perhaps to make up for whatever the problems are with regard to China?
It is going to be a new era of market expansion around the world, and our team is so committed to that. So I think we fix a lot of what's wrong with the China and the Brazil, et cetera, but we also open up new markets. I mean, countries are knocking on our door right now. They want our goods. Our agriculture products are the best in the world. They're the most productive. We feed not only our country, we feed the world. They're 100% safe. And so that's what a lot of these countries are asking for, and that's what our incredible team in Washington is moving toward.
So the thing that's interesting to me is, have you seen these hats that some of the Trump people are wearing, including President Trump, that says Trump was right about everything? I'm starting to wonder if we're going to have to double down on those hats, because these guys hate the fact that he's fighting, and think about it, everything from the Mahab movement to Doge to whatever. It's fighting for these policies, and the media hates it. But if you think about what Brooke just said or Secretary Bessent just said, when the president delivers for the American people, we get lower tariffs, we get more market access, whatever. What are they going to say? They're so resistant to this. And then they're just going to gloss over the win like they have with everything else. But I want to show you a clip, because I mentioned this after the Bessent clip. Frank Luntz had this focus group of people, and I want to play you just a couple minutes of it because I want to show you what I'm talking about. The media, if you just watch CNN, or read the New York Times, whatever, you'd think that everyone hates these policies. But watch Frank Luntz, who is no fan of the president, by the way, watch him in this focus group that he has with people about tariffs.
I need to ask you an issue that no one's brought up and that has crashed your 401ks, most of you, your tariffs. Stock market is way down.
It needed a correction.
Oh, so you support it?
Yes. You bet.
Yep.
How many?
And I have to tell you,
how many?
my 401k wasn't impacted at all.
How many? First off, how many of you did not lose any money over the drop, over the crash of the stock market? One individual, two people. So, Serena,
The
and
Biden
Joe.
administration, I lost more money than the Trump administration by far.
In 2020,
Like
in 2022, they crashed it
40%
by
or more.
25%. Yeah. For the whole year.
No one's upset over this?
No.
Nope.
No.
Nobody.
There's not a
there's an end
single
game here, though.
40-year period in the history of the stock market where the stock market hasn't appreciated at an average rate of about 7%. It's so, yeah, there's ups and downs and corrections, and sometimes people are foolish and they jump out, buy high, sell low. But if people just get in and stay the course, they'll be just fine.
Yeah, and I was about to say, I'm not a day trader. I try not to look at it very often, which is, I think, a good thing. But I also trust that Trump and all of his advisors that are involved with the tariff issue know what they're doing. So I'm just going to hang on. I know it'll correct at some point. Yeah, I'm not really worried about it.
Okay. So look, as I said, this wasn't some like MAGA focus group. And not one person had a problem. Now, I'm not saying that there's no one. I'm not trying to gloss over that. But I'm saying that like there's this perception of the media that, oh my God, you've got to be pissed off. You've got to hate what's happening. There's a lot of people who get the bigger picture, the plan, the idea of what President Trump's fighting for. If he wanted high ratings, he could easily do this. The guy's a marketing genius. He knows how to do that. He's willing to fight. And he also is betting that the American people get it. That it's not going to be easy. It's not going to happen in 24 hours. And those folks on that focus group reaffirm that feeling. But if you read the media, it's like, what's going on? Now, look, Tuesday marks the 100 days. And I've said this before, if you've been a long-time watcher of this, I believe this will be the most consequential second term, at least in modern history, if not ever. 4 years out of office made a massive difference. By him not going back to back, he didn't have just the same staff doing the same things, pursuing the same policies. Most two-term presidents, they just keep going on autopilot. But the American people had a choice in the election like they never have had, except once before. We could literally compare the policies of Donald Trump's first term with the policies of Biden and Harris. It was like one of those taste tests. We knew which one we liked better, and we chose it overwhelmingly. Policy versus policy. Which one do you like better? We had the ability to actually compare the results of the two candidates, of their policies. Do you like the 4 years of Donald Trump or the Joe Biden years? And the people, the policies, and the process are going to make a difference. President Trump is not just who he surrounded himself with, it's who he's not there with, who he's kept away, the lessons that he's learned of people who are pursuing their own agendas or against his. And he's also got a better team in Congress to get his things through. They're not. Even I remember several times when it was our own team that was stopping things from getting done. They've got the policies. They know exactly what they want to focus on. He came out of the gate, as you guys know, executive order after executive order. He knows the process to get it done. These guys are thinking big, and they're getting it done and delivering. They know that they just don't have to say no. Because that's how it's always been done. That's not how it normally works. Trump's saying, I don't care. I'm going to get it done. Think about border security. By the way, one little thought that occurred to me over the weekend on border security. I've always said that border security is about the Dems allowing future voters in. But I think it's more nefarious than that, by the way. Do you realize that the census counts people, not citizens? I don't know that everyone gets that, and I apologize if you do. But so Republicans, by at least one count, would at least have 10 more seats, if not for all the illegals that were counted in districts that are held by Democrats. Think about that for a second. That's probably actually part of this. But the president's made tons of strides on culture and things like this. You know, we talk about the border. Let me just mention a few of these things to you. Again, closing the border, what he did. Onshoring production. Think about this. Already apparently $7 trillion in investment. We've talked about it. Hyundai, SoftBank, Taiwan chip maker, Apple. Boom, boom, boom. He's focused on inflation and making America more affordable again. He's launched the largest deportation in American history. He's dismantled the foreign drug cartels. We've talked about that. He invoked the Enemy Aliens Act. He's going after those gangs, whether it's MS-13 or Tren de Aragua. He's terminating catch and release. He's shutting down the CBP One app that allowed people just to flow into this country. He's ending sanctuary cities, reinstating Mexico, remain in Mexico, putting the tariffs on to reshore jobs, to create a sense of fairness. I mean, all of that kind of stuff that he's going after. It's unbelievable how he's handling that. He's making us energy secure again, and independent again, allowing the exploration of oil and gas, withdrawing from the Paris climate thing, opening Anwar back up again, stopping the silly windmills. I mean, all of those stuff, and the Green New Deal, ending that kind of stuff. He's ending DEI throughout the country, in the military, restoring freedom of speech, getting men out of women's sports, cutting all sorts of ridiculous woke funding. Recognizing two genders, shutting down the Department of Education, making the military strong again, all of those kind of things. And then Doge. We've been talking about this for years, focusing on getting waste, fraud, abuse, efficiencies, duplicity. Go to the site, check it out. Go to doge.gov, savings, go to the savings tab. Just look at the amount of money. Trillions, billions of dollars that are being saved right now. Unbelievable. I mean, they've got a wall of receipts. Check it out. They've got over $160 billion already identified. Don't let anyone tell you that a lot has not been achieved. This is monumental, consequential. Unbelievable. It's not, most guys just focus on one or two things. Think about that list that I just read you. And the other thing that I'll tell you that's so different, and I saw this with him in the Oval Office the other day, he's got, they used to call it a swagger, people in Texas, but I think it's a confidence. His approach to everything now is so much different. He's more confident in his action. He's got a level of comfort in the job that he didn't have. He was new to it last time. He's had time to think. It's so much different, so much more focused, delivering for the American people on exactly what he said he was going to do. I'll put all this in my newsletter, by the way, on Tuesday, just to give you a sense of what I'm talking about. So much that has happened in the last 100 days. And this week, we are going to focus on that. We're going to bring you guests, the likes of which you will not see anywhere else. Trust me, guys, hit that notification button, hit that subscription button. We've got a great week lined up for you. Thanks for kicking off your week for us. Remember to go to SeanSpicer.com and sign up for that newsletter. It's all free. You can always become a VIP member. Thanks for kicking off your week for us. I really appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you back here tomorrow on the Sean Spicer Show.
Well, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get more.